In 11 years, Daniel Marsh paid his electric company $52,800. Not a loan, not an investment, not equity in anything. Gone. Every single dollar. And in the summer of 2023, after 11 years of on-time payments, not one missed, not one late, his power company sent him a shut-off notice. Not because he stopped paying, because they raised the rate again. And Daniel's fixed income couldn't keep up anymore. $52,800 over 11 years, and he had nothing to show for it. Nothing on his roof, nothing in his account, nothing but a notice on his door, and a house in Tucson, Arizona hitting 104 degrees in July with no air conditioning. This is the story of what Daniel Marsh paid for and what he could have owned instead. Daniel grew up in Columbus, Ohio. His father worked at a Ford stamping plant for 31 years. His mother was a school secretary. They were not wealthy people, but they were steady people. Daniel inherited that. He moved to Tucson in 2009, the year after the financial crisis gutted Ohio's manufacturing sector, and the plant his father worked at finally closed. He was 41 years old. He found work in logistics, warehouse management. Decent pay, not great, steady. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. A covered patio out back, $143,000. It was modest, but it was his. Daniel was the kind of man who paid his bills the day they arrived. His credit score was 791. He had never once been late on anything, and every single month, from the day he moved into that house, he paid his electric bill, $318 a month in 2011. By 2023, it was $478 a month. He never questioned it. He never looked into alternatives. He just paid it. Way his father paid for things, because that's what responsible people do. Here is something about Tucson, Arizona that the utility company understands very well. Tucson receives an average of 286 sunny days per year. 286. It is one of the sunniest cities in the entire United States. The sun hits Tucson rooftops with enough intensity that solar engineers call it a Tier 1 solar zone, the highest possible classification for solar energy potential. Daniel Marsh lived in a Tier 1 solar zone for 11 years, with a south-facing roof, no shade trees, perfect pitch, and he paid a utility company $478 a month to deliver power to that house. Power that the sun was offering for free, every single day. In 2019, Daniel's life shifted. He was 51. His knees had been bad for years. A warehouse injury in 2015 had never fully healed. He went on partial disability. His income dropped from $54,000 a year to $31,000. He restructured what he could. He cut the cable bill. He stopped eating out. He kept the electric bill, because in Tucson, in the summer, the electric bill isn't optional. When it's 107 degrees outside and you're a man with bad knees and a heart that a doctor told you in 2018 was showing some stress markers, the air conditioning is not a luxury, it is survival. So Daniel paid every month on time. But here is what was happening at the utility company during those same years. Between 2011 and 2023, they filed for residential rate increases 8 times. 8 approved rate hikes in 12 years. The average residential customer in Tucson saw their rate climb 34% over that period. 34%. Daniel's income had gone down 43% since his injury. His electric bill had gone up 50% since he bought the house. Those 2 lines, his income and his utility bill, were moving in opposite directions, and nobody at the power company sent him a letter about it. Nobody called. Nobody said, "Mr. Marsh, we notice you're on a fixed income and we'd like to talk to you about your options." They just kept sending the bill, and Daniel kept paying it, because that's what he knew how to do. Now let me tell you about Daniel's neighbor. His name was Carl Whitfield. Carl was 58 years old, retired school teacher. He and Daniel had been neighbors since 2013. They talked over the fence maybe once a week. Casual stuff, weather, sports, the neighborhood. In April of 2021, Carl had solar panels installed on his roof. Daniel watched the installation crew for 2 days. He asked Carl about it afterward. Carl said, "My bill went from $390 to $31 last month." Daniel thought Carl was exaggerating. He said, "Come on." Carl showed him the bill on his phone. $31.14. Service fees and taxes. That was it. Daniel stood there in that driveway for a moment. Then he said, "Well, that's expensive to install though, right?" Carl said, "Federal government covered 30% of the cost. I financed the rest at 2.9%. My monthly payment on the system is $160. I'm saving $230 every month over what I was paying before." Daniel nodded. He said he'd look into it. He never did. Not in 2021, not in 2022, just kept paying the bill. July 7th, 2023. Daniel opens his mailbox. Inside is an envelope from the power company. He has received hundreds of them. This one is different. It's a shutoff notice. Not for non-payment, for something called a low-income account review. The company had flagged his account. His income documentation was out of date in their system. His disability payment had been reclassified by the state earlier that year. A bureaucratic change that had zero effect on his actual income, but it had moved him out of one assistance category. They needed updated paperwork. He had 21 days to submit it, or service would be interrupted. Daniel is not a man who panics. He is a man who follows procedures. He called the company. He was on hold for 47 minutes. He spoke to a supervisor named Jennifer. She explained the process. He needed to submit 3 documents through their online portal. Daniel does not own a computer. He has a phone, an older Samsung. The portal did not load correctly on it. He drove to the library. He submitted what he thought were the correct documents on July 14th. He received a confirmation email. On July 28th, 7 days before the shutoff deadline, he received a second notice. One document had been rejected. Wrong format. They needed a PDF. He had submitted a photo. It was July in Tucson, 106 degrees, and Daniel Marsh, a man who had paid the electric company $52,800 over 11 years without a single missed payment, was 7 days from having his power cut in 106-degree heat with a stressed heart, alone. He fixed the document. He drove back to the library on July 29th. He resubmitted. He received a second confirmation. Power stayed on, this time. But Daniel sat in his car outside that library for a long time. He called his daughter Michelle in Phoenix. She's 28, works in healthcare administration. He didn't tell her about the shutoff notice. He didn't want to worry her. He just asked her how she was doing. She asked him the same. He said, fine. He drove home. He sat in his kitchen. The air conditioner was running. He could hear it. He had paid for it. He thought about Carl next door. Carl's solar panels, $31 a month. He thought about what he'd paid since Carl installed those panels. April 2021 to July 2023. 28 months. $420 average per month. $11,760. He thought about what Carl had paid in that same time. 28 months, $31 service fee, plus $160 system payment. $5,348. The difference between those two numbers, $6,412 in 28 months. He went to the kitchen table and found an old notepad, the kind with the lines, and he started doing math by hand. He wrote down 2011. He wrote down 318. He wrote down 2023. He wrote down 478. He added up 12 years of bills using the numbers he remembered from old check stubs and bank statements he still kept in a filing cabinet in the second bedroom. He got to $52,800 before he stopped. He stared at that number for a long time. He wrote 2 words next to it: own nothing. Because that's the truth. When you pay a utility bill, you own nothing. You buy no asset. You build no equity. You accumulate nothing that has value. You pay for the month, and the month is gone. And next month, you pay again. $52,800. And the company that took it from him had just put him through 3 weeks of bureaucratic terror over a PDF format.